Hey YouTube, Muchísimo Eugene. Just want to say, hope everyone's having a good morning. And here it's actually noon, but hope you're having a good day. I just want to talk a little bit about you, and only you went through the struggle with the narcissist. I can remember with my children, my twins, when I was in a custody battle of what lasted about 6 years. And because I've had them almost about 6 years. They're 13, gonna be 14 in December. So I remember when there was no custody visitation time, and it went to a couple of hours of parenting time to about 60-40 her way, weekends with me or something to that degree. But anyway, it progressively went to the point of where we had mutual custody, and inevitably I gained physical custody. I'm going to tell you guys something, and I want you women to listen very well. I'm not a mean guy. I'm not here to beat up on women physically, emotionally, mentally, verbally, or anything. I am, however, an outspoken individual, and I always have been, even before I realized I was an empath. I used to stutter when I was young, and I was shy. It's amazing what God can do. I don't know what broke me out of that, other than the grace of God, and just a persistence and a determination and a will to want to be unique. Because I read the Bible young, and I went to church young, and I realized, sorry about that downstairs, it's just, they're among me all the time. But I learned the determination from somewhere, not having a father around, just did. And I believe, looking back at it, from what I'm trying to speak to you women about, I believe I never really had a mean bone in my body, but I did, however, see a lot of manipulation by the way of men and women. And I realized that women have a more persuasive manipulation than a man, in many cases. And I've seen women who manipulated and ended up on the bottom of the pile, if you will. They end up losing. They lost big time by way of having children by a man they knew wasn't no good, and they wasn't much better. They ended up seducing the man, getting children to lock him down, and they ended up with nobody but the children, and they didn't even want the kids. They just used the kids as an instrument for leverage. I say that not to be mean. I say that because that's a reality that we're seeing more now today than ever. There are some very decent women out there, some very solid women, but that comes from trauma, that comes from upbringing, that comes from a lack of determination to do what you need to do as an adult. That can go either way, man or woman. Now, getting that out of the way, I can remember times when I would go to pick my children up at school, and the teacher would, a lot of the teachers would look at me with scorn, cynicism, and just, you could tell, you could feel, and verbally they would make it known that you're pretty much nobody, because mother had leveraged. She had leveraged them verbally. She had insulated herself, how narcissists will do. They will get the message out that you're no good, and it could not be further from the truth in many cases. You may have flaws, as anyone does, but to defame you and tear your name down, it works. It works, and it's very effective. So here I am today with the same leverage that she had, but I administer it a different way. As of recent, I was taking a scooter ride, just airing my, just airing the day out, just airing my thoughts out. I like to do the scooter ride because it's very therapeutic. And in doing so, I decided to go through this neighborhood And lo and behold, I see my daughter. I see my daughter and her friend is wearing something that basically only covers just a small portion of her upper body. And mind you, last night, or right before dark, it was chilly, very chilly. No one was dressed in just a top, a crop top or whatever. And she was revealing a lot of things that I would believe that shouldn't have been revealed. And I just dropped them off maybe hours before because they do a little bit of community service work because they're very academically astute and they're in positions of helping the community and giving back. So I'm under the impression that she would be home by this time. And I look to the right and I see him, and you can see my daughter almost like she was kind of spellbound that she saw her father riding through the neighborhood. I wasn't supposed to see her. I turned around and I said, Sissy, what are you doing over here now still? You supposed to be home. We were at a birthday party for my friend. And mind you, these friends, I know that mother is setting her up for failure. I understand that. That's not a problem with me because as long as there's breath in my body, I'm going to help my children understand that this is what's being done to you systematically in the best way that I can. A lot of times you can't filter it. You have to tell your children, you have to give it to them straight. Give it to them straight and allow them a chance to be able to see this if in fact they ever see it. That's all you can hope for. And this is both encouraging to women and well as men. This is awareness for men and an encouraging for women. If you're not doing all you can do as a mother and you got so much disdain for the father of that child to the point where you're blinded on how you should be raising your child, I encourage you. Do the best you can. Don't focus on the things that this person has done to you because it'll drive you down. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. It'll drive you down and it will cause you not to focus on what your priorities are by way of your life, being the best you, and to be the best parent you can be in order to encourage your children to be the best people they can be. And I told my daughter, hey, you need to get back home as soon as possible. She told me an hour. Here we are 4 or 5 hours last night. I decided to give her a call. She dodged the call a few times, and I text, call your father. And she knows when I text her, call your father. That is kind of like an urgency. You need to make this make sense. And she called me. And I just basically asked her, what happened to 1 hour? I said, you literally just walked in the house, didn't you? And I said, I could hear the door and all of this stuff. I say, but honestly, did you just walk in the door? She said, not just now, but I've been here for a little while. I took it in blind faith, and that was not my real principal point or focus. I said, we're really going to have to have a sit down. I say, you're being systematically dismantled. You're very much being let or allowed to do whatever it is that you think is okay with no oversight, no supervision. I say, your mom really doesn't seem to even care one way or the other when she leaves you somewhere. And I say your friend was dressed very inappropriately, even though I'm not a father. I took issue with that and I made it known to her. And I say, you know, you're a little bit underdressed. So that's a little bit, that's not safe for you to be out here doing that. There was only so much I could say to this child. And I've already had words with her mom because I couldn't find my children or my child 2 weeks ago because she wasn't where she was supposed to be. What I'm trying to say to you guys that this is becoming a very imminent problem, whereas I'm having to deal with these things, and I'm not bashful. They have to be dealt with and they have to be addressed. So unfortunately that a father has to take the slack up in this respect, because a little woman child should be guided by a mother first and then the father. But I'm up for the challenge. My mother raised me by herself and she did a fairly good job. And I have to say, women, I'm encouraging you. If you're listening to this video, this is from a man. You owe it to yourself. Yourself first. Because don't say you owe it to your child, because all you're doing is just pretending to be a good parent. You owe it to yourself out of ethics and out of your own self-worth to be the best person you can be. You don't have to have money. Forget the house. Forget the stuff that you had before with the narcissists around. You may be starting from square one. You have your self-respect, your dignity, and your self-worth. Start with that. That's the building blocks of being a solid person. Because once that money and the status begins to elevate again, and you don't have these fundamental things, what do you really have? You just have externals. And so I had that talk with my daughter, and when she gets back to my home, I'm going to have a sit down with her. And I pray, and you guys pray for me, that I would be able to just talk to her like a human being and talk to her with the love of God and to show her that I really am deeply concerned. And I want you to be equally as concerned in the way that you're going, in the way that you're being led to do things. And it may seem harmless on the surface, but for kids to be going to birthday parties, but we need to check in on our children, because a lot of times they're not doing half the things that they tell us they're doing. And we're not there to eavesdrop and snoop on them, but by chance, that was a situation that I didn't anticipate, and that was God. God knew my heart was for my children, and He has done this many times. I end up in spaces that my children are at, and unbeknownst to them and me, that they are there. I thank God for that. And today, this just was a conversation, or just a discussion to let you guys know that I'm on that narcissist rampage still. But we need to realize, with these monsters in existence, they're doing everything they can to dismantle everybody's state of mind, and that's including your children, your friends, and the people around you. So when you went through this battle, you went through it alone before you woke up to what a narcissist was. Now that you're out of that fog, you don't have anybody to thank other than the hand of God. And God didn't want nobody to help you come out of this and to see your way. He wanted you to do it all your own. So you would look back and see that codependency that you think you needed before, you don't need it. And now, that's notwithstanding people who have given us information to lead us toward an understanding of what narcissists are. I'm not talking about that. We are forever grateful for you guys. But we're talking about, no one was there when you had sleepless night, when you were petrified and terrified of the narcissist. Even if you're a man, you were petrified. I remember times laying there, I laid there a month after I'd already realized that she was a narcissist. Told you this story. She knows I was God-fearing man. She would leave my Bible on my pillow open to a random page. And what I did, I began to put a blanket, and I rolled it up the long way, and I put a separation between me and her. I said I'm going to will myself to sleep in that bed with her, not because it was my bed, because I needed to make her just as uncomfortable as she had made me prior to me waking up to what a narcissist was. See, when you're silent, she knew I knew. She lived a death sentence, the 30 days or 3 weeks she remained here after I discovered that she was a narcissist. And I tell you the story before, I made her brother aware. I didn't tell her directly she was a narcissist because I needed her to leave my home. Now, this is not the woman that I have my twins by the way, so don't get the two confused. But nonetheless, I think every woman that I've actually had long-term relationships were narcissists. There are probably 2 or 3 when I was younger that weren't. So I stand on that. Whether they had a little narcissism or a lot of narcissism, the way they leveraged and they played little conniving games, and how they play these conniving games determines whether they're narcissists. Because some people will do you dirty just because they're hurt, but a narcissist, they are very premeditative. Very premeditative. A normal person just wouldn't sit back and plot and scheme to the utmost degree to hurt you. And so, the teachers would look at me with scorn. And there was one male teacher, he would always treat me with a little bit of respect. and there was security guards, and it was often the men that would actually look at me, and I think they looked at my character through my anger and my bitterness. You can have character even though you're bitter and you're angry. They saw through all of that, and they saw a man that was able to articulate his point, and he was able to call things out. And I think what added to that was the mother demonstrated, the twins' mother, they demonstrate who they are because they overdo what they do. They over insult you, they over scandalize your name. And so what this causes the people who they tell this to observe them a little closer. And in time, things just begin to not make sense because they don't see that in your character. They see that you are really steadfast about your children, which I was. And they see I wasn't privy to a lot of their opinions or how they looked at me. I just, it was all my focus was picking my children up from school, asking them how their day was. They see the way my children loved on me. And see, these things are undeniable. When your children embrace you a certain way, in front of people, you, the onlooker, are able to see and sense and feel whether that person and those children are authentic, genuine, and that's true love. Or is it just a manufactured love? I'm not the only one that's like this. I'm sure it's a lot of you guys are admirable people, men and women, mothers and fathers. You just have to ask yourself, are you going to accept the opinion of other people, or are you going to be steadfast? You're going to stay the course. Don't give up now. You've gone too far. There's much more to go. That being said, bless.